Good morning. Good morning, everyone. It's 7:30 a.m. It's Monday morning. It's March 23rd, 2026, and you are looking live at Central West Virginia, where your host, Tim Koger, will be doing another podcast this morning. And it will be a podcast a little different than I've done in the past. I'll explain that in a minute. But I hope you're ready for another exciting week. I know I am. I look outside and it looks kind of overcast. It was wonderful here yesterday, on the verge of hot. It was in the 80s. Felt great. I'm looking forward to hot. I kind of like hot, actually. Much better than cold. I don't know if you do or not, but good morning, everyone. Let's get this thing going. It is podcast number 76. Like I said, it's new every morning. That's the podcast. I'm doing something a little different this morning that I've not done before. It's not in audio or video necessarily, although I'm still working on my audio video situation. I got a mic and a camera, but I'm still having a little back feed on it. So I'm going to have to do some work on that before we go to that. But eventually I do want to go to that, and I want to go to YouTube eventually, and I'm looking outside. I can see outside. The days get longer and longer, which means it's getting warmer and warmer. It's now spring, which is exciting to me. Things are starting to green up some. I do have, for people that have been on here for a while, and I had, many trees go down in the late December storm, many pine trees. I said at the time, well, my goal is to get them off the grass before I have to mow. Well, guess what? Mowing's coming, and there's still some of them left on the grass, so I have some work to do. But anyway, I'll get there. I will get there. So good morning, everyone. I hope you're having a good morning. I hope we have some morning words with us this morning. Now, what I'm doing different this morning is this. I have pretty much, good morning, Susan. I have pretty much an entire podcast on one subject, which I've never done before, I don't think. Nothing really close to it, but we're going to talk about condiments this morning. Yeah, good morning, Donna. Why? Because I found this article that I found interesting. I don't know if you'll find it interesting or not. It's pretty lighthearted, but pretty much the whole podcast is on condiments. So if you don't like condiments, if you don't want to hear about condiments, then this might not be the podcast for you. But I kind of find it interesting. And so, as you probably know, the things that I do on my podcast are things that, one of two things. Either I find interesting or I think you'll find interesting. And what I try to do is both at the same time. Find things that I find interesting that you will find interesting. So anyway, that's what we're doing this morning. Don't forget, I am moving this eventually to YouTube. The channel on YouTube is It's New Every Morning. It's already up. I am putting these podcasts on there. They stay forever. So if you hear one or miss one you want to catch there, of course, you can still catch them on Facebook now, but there'll come a time when Facebook will not have them all. Now, I don't know when that time will come, yet to be determined. Still drinking on my first cup of coffee. It's a little cool, but I can handle them tough. So anyway, let's get started. Condiments. Well, when you start with condiments, you got to start with ketchup, right? And, we love ketchup in this country, that sweet tomatoey based sauce that we put on all kinds of things. Well, we put them on French fries, we put them on hamburgers in particular, but hot dogs, all kinds of things. Well, ketchup started out a little different than that. The word comes from a Southeastern Asian fermented fish sauce called ketchup, spelled K-E hyphenated C-H-I-A-P. And it was made from pickled fish guts and brine. Yeah, that's what ketchup was started out as. I realize we've come a long way since fish guts and brine. But anyway, now sailors brought it back to Britain in the 1700s, and cooks started experimenting with this new sauce. I mean, they made things like mushroom ketchup and walnut ketchup and oyster ketchup, all these different things. But when America really grabbed a hold of it, we wanted something sweet and tomatoey, I guess. And so you know what it is today, ketchup. So, and I know that some people like ketchup a lot, some people like a little bit, but it is sweet and it is tomatoey. Mustard is next, all right? So, we have mustard. We have this bright yellow, cheerfully stuff, and we have some other ones that aren't quite as bright. There's the variations of it. But it was, hey, good morning, Bob or Patricia or both of you. In the medieval times, it was used for all kinds of things. Mustard was, it's ancient, it's in the Bible, and they used it to rub on their skin for things like arthritis or the plague. Yeah, the plague. That's how old this stuff is. Now, in case you're wondering, and I don't think you are, but in case you're wondering, it did not cure the plague. Okay, so now mustard has another odd thing about it. There was a chemical weapon called mustard gas, and it was named mustard gas because the soldiers said it smelled a little bit like mustard. Poor mustard. Just so you'll know, mustard had nothing to do with that weapon. Okay? But for whatever reason, the nickname stuck, mustard gas. So mustard wasn't involved. I just want you to know that, okay? In case you're wondering that somehow they used mustard in mustard gas, they did not. Now, one of the hot sauce, I have very little to say about hot sauce except some of the earliest uses of hot sauce in the 1800s was for a stomach medicine. Yeah, they used hot sauce to cure stomach problems. Now, we know today, I don't really eat hot sauce, but I know a lot of people do. We know today that if anything, it would be just the opposite. After eating hot sauce, you may need a stomach medicine. So anyway, I thought that was kind of cute. Now, mayonnaise, or we better know as mayo, they're not really sure how mayonnaise started. It's an old story, but there's two stories that I've heard. And one of them traces back to a military victory. In 1756, the French forces captured a Spanish island. And the Duke's chef, interesting, the Duke's chef reportedly whipped up this sauce from eggs and oil to celebrate the victory. So, I don't know. That's kind of not a real cute story for kitchen ideas, but that's one. Now, the other dispute, well, they're really not sure, but the other one is from an old French word for egg yolk, mayonnaise. Good morning, Janet. So we're not really sure where the name mayonnaise came from, mayo, but, the thing that's interesting about mayonnaise that I have found, just kind of going around and talking to people is, it seems like, and you all can see what you think about this, and you all may have a thought on this, but it seems like people either love or hate mayo. I mean, there doesn't seem to be any middle ground. You won't find people to say, oh, it's okay. Now, you might find some people, a few, but most people either love it, like me, or hate it, like some people I know. They will not eat mayonnaise. Absolutely no mayonnaise. If they go to a restaurant and they put mayonnaise on the sandwich, they won't eat it. And they won't even scrape it off. They'll just say, I told you I didn't want mayonnaise. And then there's other people that love it. So that's kind of interesting. I found that interesting about mayonnaise, that it's kind of a love-hate. So anyway, ranch dressing is next. It is the most modern of the things that we'll be talking about. And it was invented in the 1950s by a man named Steve Henson, who developed the sauce when he was working as a contractor in Alaska. There's not a lot to do in Alaska, probably, especially there in the wintertime. So he invented this stuff. Now later, he came back to California and he started a dude ranch. And that's where he made it popular. and that's where it grew from, his little dude ranch in California. All right, so, and we all, and ranch is very popular. I mean, it spread across this country big time. I don't know how popular it is in other countries or all over the world, but in the United States, ranch is popular. So my next one is Worcestershire sauce. Now, that's kind of hard to pronounce for a lot of people. People struggle with it. I kind of struggle with it, but I got it out. Now, it's good story. It's kind of interesting. Probably Worcester sauce was a forgotten barrel, just kind of somebody stuck it somewhere. And in the 1830s, a British nobleman asked chemists Leah and Perrins, interesting names, to create a sauce that he enjoyed when he was out of Britain. Okay, now what they did is they mixed up this sauce, right? That he kind of, explained to them, and they all hated it. It was awful. They hated it. He hated it. The people that made it hated it. Everybody hated it. So they just shoved it in the cellar. 2 years later, someone found the barrel, and they took a taste, and surprise, now they loved it. They loved it now. So basically, what the sauce had to do is it had to ferment. So once it fermented, everybody loved it. Now the ingredients, anchovies and vinegar, aged vinegar, were the two main ingredients of that. So, I know a lot of us like that sauce. We use it a lot for cooking in particular. And the secret is it had to be aged because it was nasty before it was aged. Once it was aged, we got what we got. So next sauce I'm going to talk about goes back 2,000 years in ancient China. And it started as a way to get salt to last longer. Salt was super expensive, very valuable, and they had wars over controlling salt. That's how valuable salt was for a preservative, for a lot of things. But and so they invented this sauce to actually allow the salt flavor to last longer. Now, early versions was a fermented paste, and the liquid that separated out eventually became known as soy sauce. So that's how soy sauce actually started, as a way to preserve and get salt to last longer. Now, the thing that's interesting about soy sauce is the recipe was really closely guarded. People didn't want anybody to know how to make it because it became very super popular, and so it was valuable. And in Japan, there were certain breweries. Of course, it started in China, but through the Orient it moved. In Japan, there were certain families that really held on to the recipe really close, and they created monopolies on selling it and built fortunes in Japan because they were able to make it soy sauce that they loved, and other people weren't. So that's pretty interesting. Now, my next one is vinegar. Vinegar was probably made by accident. Okay, that's the general theory. It was probably wine that somebody forgot about. Excuse me. And later, it was, kind of sharp and sour. Okay, so they probably started out as wine and turned into vinegar. Well, the ancient Romans loved it. All right, I don't understand this, but they actually took vinegar and mixed it with water for an everyday drink. They loved it. Vinegars, has a lot of different weird background, but it was used for centuries as a disinfectant, and still kind of works for that, actually. A preservative for biological material in medical contexts. Vinegar was even showed up in war. Okay, yeah, they used to use it for war because it was so bad for things. I mean, so basically, apple cider vinegar has some cruel moments in its past history because it was acidic and it was super. I mean, can you imagine getting vinegar in your eyes, for example? So anyway, but vinegar as we know it today. Tartar sauce is my next one. It was named after the Tartars. Now, the Tartars was a European term for these vicious Central Asian people that came in and attacked them over and over. Some of them were mongrels, which you may have heard of. And they, these Central Asian people, they were terrified other parts of the continent for centuries. Now, later the French developed this creamy tartar sauce we have today, and still got its name connected to a steak tartar, which apparently was a raw fish meal, a raw fish meal that these Mongols ate. That dates all the way back to when they were there, and I guess the name stuck, and that's how the name tartar came from. This group of warriors. Now the last one I have is pickle brine. Now pickle brine's really old, but it's odd that pickle brine has become very trendy. I don't know if you've recognized that, but I've heard about it a few different places. I mean, people are drinking it straight. They're mixing it in cocktails, and they're even ordering it as shots. So pickle brine is made a comeback, or maybe a first time, I don't know. But the practice of fermenting cucumbers in brine is ancient. It's old. It's been going around for, well, the information I read was 4,000 years. It started in Mesopotamia, if I'm saying that right. I mean, it's old. In fact, some of the information about pickle brine, Cleopatra, which we all have heard of, reportedly credited pickles for her good looks. Yeah, pickle brine. She's a pickle brine lady. Yep. And Julius Caesar would feed it to his soldiers in war because it gave them strength, he thought. And maybe it did, I don't know. But so pickle brine, while it's making a comeback today, and it is, it's very trendy right now. It's been around for centuries, and Cleopatra and Julius Caesar thought it was pretty cool 4,000 years ago, or whenever they were around, 3,000 years ago. So that's pretty interesting. So that's your walk down condiment aisle. I hope you kind of enjoyed hearing a little bit about your condiments. And I have one more story that I want to leave with you today, and it's about your health. So if you work in a building that has elevators, or you go places, they have found that taking the stairs has big benefits for your health. I mean, stairs boost your energy and your mental health. And they have learned that the study said that if you just climb 5 flights of stairs a day, it can decrease your cardiovascular disease by 20%. 5 stairs. Now, stairs is better for you than walking, because the work you have to do to go upstairs does a lot of things for your body that walking flat doesn't do. Of course, climbing uphill might, but stairs. Now, you don't have to do all 5 stairs at the same time. You can do it throughout the day. It's not like you have to do it together. But just by climbing 5 flights of stairs a day, researchers say is enough to lower your heart disease and cancer risk. 5 flights. So go out and find yourself 5 flights of stairs today. Go climb them. You'll be glad you did. All right. Listen, you guys have a great week. I will see you Friday morning at 7:30 a.m. I'm looking forward to it. Got a lot more fun things to tell you about then. And be blessed and have a great week. Bye-bye.